Welcome to Conversational Currency. This is the fastest growing platform focused on the value and importance of social skills for business in a digital era told through the lens of today's business and thought leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, communication is a superpower. What I want you to imagine is if you had the ability to communicate the right words in the right moments to every man or woman in a business setting, imagine how great your quality of life would be. Now, today, I am Shadidi Laser, but that is secondary to the guests we have with us on the program. We are going to discuss the art of influence in your professional and business lives and how to leverage this superpower to unlock the magic, the mystery, and the treasures that life holds. Now, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what led to your discovery of influence?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show, Shadid. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to share these thoughts. I guess I've always been an entrepreneur in heart, but the intensive study, let's say, started around 5 years ago when I was going around businesses in the local area here in DC and talking to these individuals about how to bring in more business in a way that's not, let's say, needy or people that are especially attached to the outcome. And I saw this underlying thread in the conversations everywhere. It was in Uber rides, it was in conferences, happy hours. I'm like, you know what, there's something here. We should explore this further. And what I begin to notice is that people have a desire to build a business, but not in a way that's like kind of, I don't know, with tactics or anything like that. They want to be natural. They want to be down to earth. And importantly, sell with integrity. So I decided to do a full-on immersion on the topic. And here I am writing a book about really not all, but many aspects of business today, including offline, online strategies.
Interesting viewpoint. When we talk about selling with integrity, many people set a limiting barrier within themselves, the story, the tape recorder that plays in their mind that sales is bad or money is bad or it's immoral for me to become rich selling products and services. What would you say are some techniques that help people to overcome their limiting beliefs in order to be able to sell with integrity?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great question. So the next part of the puzzle was how to make this experience actually enjoyable, right? What I noticed is that people saw picking up the phone, sending a cold email or anything like that, lead generation strategies, just didn't want to do it, right? It kind of goes with your idea of limiting beliefs where people don't think that they're good enough to convince somebody in the first place. But if you can convince yourself that this is actually fun and you use the tactics that apply that, you look forward to picking up the phone. Like it becomes like part of how you behave, who you are, it shapes your identity. So what I talk about in the book and what I've spoken about for about a year now on Twitter and sometimes on Instagram is, adopting this natural, fluid, down-to-earth approach to sales where people see you more as a trusted advisor than a sales guy. Understand that when people start a conversation with a prospect, right, they don't know you. They're kind of putting you in a category based on past experiences. Like you get on the phone and you say something like, hey there, I just wondering if you have a moment to speak about something like, business lead gen, like related, that kind of stuff. They're automatically putting you in a category saying, oh God, here we go, sales call. But if you take it on an approach where it's much more natural, like a friend talking to a friend, as you and I are in this podcast, it's much more engaging and real. And that is what reels people attention to begin with, because we're just starving for that sense of authenticity, We're just overwhelmed with the kind of like too many tactics and strategies where people just want to be themselves and make money doing it. So this book and really what I've talked about on social media is this approach, and none of it is manipulative. And it's pretty evident in the words that I've chosen, the paragraphs that I've written, and the illustrations that are included in the book. That doesn't have to be that way that the media or movies or anything has kind of shaped your perception of sales. you have another option, and that is the path of integrity and actually an enjoyable process.
Now, our audience consists of professionals, job seekers, and the common belief that tends to happen is that entrepreneurship and, let's say, being an employee or a professional, they're totally separate. But my belief is that there are many entrepreneurial skill sets, and the mindset overall can bring immense value to a career man or lady. My question for you is, what, in terms of sales, can a senior professional extract in order to help them climb the ladder of success?
Yeah, so the thing about sales and really any form of influence is that we can't avoid it. So no matter how much automation comes up into the world, the sense of human-to-human interaction will not go away. It will not expire because we need to talk to people. We're humans, and unless that can be also automated, I mean, I don't think anything's outside the realm of possibility, but it's highly unlikely that they'll outsource human interaction completely, right? We need that. It's what makes us human to begin with. So understand that when you get involved in this field, any type of influence, you're actually shaping your character. So you're building a business, but you're becoming a better person because you're more effective in your communication. So it applies to anything. I mean, it could just be improving your friendships, improving the relationship with your family, controlling your voice, improving your presence, being more aware of your body, being a better public speaker, negotiating more effectively. The list goes on because this is just like the big domino that hits down all the other dominoes and kind of builds a lot of momentum in your life. For people that want to start a business or be more effective in their social life, when they get truly immersed in this topic, it will fundamentally change your identity. You'll become a different person completely if you do it the right way, which is the philosophy that I propose in this book.
Now, when it comes to your role as the starter, the founder of Documental Radio, how has speaking with and exchanging ideas with so many interesting and talented people led to the creation of the book? My question is, has it inspired the launch of this book, or is it lessons from, or is it a total departure from what you've done with Documental Radio?
Yeah, so just for the listeners, so they're aware, Shadid and I have done already 2 episodes on Documental Radio, so you guys should definitely go check those out. I mean, they're value packed, and Shadid is a master. I've learned so much from you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the best influencers in the world never stop learning. They have a curious mindset. They have a growth mindset, to be specific. I'm sure people know that terminology these days, where they just keep expanding their mind. They travel the world, they try new things, they have interesting conversations with different personalities that ultimately make them better people overall. So they can go into any situation, in a snap of a finger, you can start a conversation. You have no approach anxiety. You've become this person that's just very interesting based on all the different stimuli that you've collected throughout your life. And now you can apply that in real time, and you'll always know in real time what's going on when these interactions with people. I mean, you'll know if you're actually influencing them, and you'll know if you're not. I mean, it's a very clear, learning mechanism, let's say. So having a podcast on curiosity, at least that's the theme of it, allows me to engage in conversation with interesting people like yourself, so that I become a better person. I come into these conversations saying, I don't know the answer to this stuff. I need your help. I value your advice, and these experts, these specialists come in and tell you, and you kind of formulate your new ideas based on your own personal experience. So you take that and put your unique twist to pretty much everything you do. It could be an ebook, an online course, email marketing, a personal brand. I mean, the sky is the limit. So it's very exciting to be around people that are much better than me. And I've accepted that idea a long time ago. That is ultimately made me a much happier and well-rounded person.
Now, the growth mindset, this is very important because many of our viewers, many of our listeners may have grown up in smaller towns where there's not a lot of diversity, and many of the mindsets stagnate after a certain period of time, and people are literally middle-aged by the time they graduate high school, within 1 to 3 years. So for that listener, for that viewer, what is your advice, basic, let's say, advice vitamin that you can share on how to maintain curiosity with life, how to maintain the growth mindset, even when your environment may be stagnant or not so growth oriented?
That's a really good question. So I recommend that people start writing online about a topic that naturally interests them, right? It could be anything. It'd be like gardening or, I don't know, like long walks in nature. Okay, just start writing about that and see how your thoughts develop on that one topic. And then you'll start to notice as you write that your thoughts get refined. You start to shape the way you think deliberately, and you become a more effective communicator. So it does many things. One is it brings an opportunity. So other people that are into these kind of things can reach out to you and say, hey, I really vibe with your blog on, running farther in my state, whatever. So you have those opportunities coming to you, which is very powerful. Then you can get into kind of SEO tactics, or I shouldn't say tactics, SEO in general, right? This is a long-term approach that will actually help you build a business. So with a presence online, you kind of have new opportunities based on SEO, new opportunities from fans, your own thoughts being refined. This is something you can do today. I mean, I think the startup cost for a blog is, I think, like website hosting and some other add-ons for the website itself, for like website speed and all that stuff. But this is something you can do today. It's very practical, and no one's forcing you to be like this super interesting, curious person. You're just doing what you already like, and you can branch out to other things once you have more experience. You're a better thinker. You have people in your tribe supporting you, and you have, let's say, SEO on your side as well that you didn't pay for. It's just a very powerful tool that you can organically grow and build authority. That's why I say, just start writing anything. Start a journal, start a blog, obviously, start writing on Twitter, even Instagram. There's so many tools out there that are free or low cost that you can get started on. And like in this predicament right now, where we're in a quarantine and we don't know how long this is going to last, might as well get started, right? Like you have nothing else to do. So if we're out of this in 6 months, let's say, or in a year with the vaccine, and we have a rate of 6 to 9 months for SEO quote unquote results, that's a pretty good time frame to get in a project that costs you nothing, that will make you a better person, expand your opportunities, and you could seriously cash out when we're out of this.
That's a very interesting point, in that there's a few things to unpack here. Number one, bloom where you're planted, which is my mindset on taking on new things or being in a new environment and just getting started. Also, writing, I believe, is an elite tier skill set. It's something that one of the first things that we learn from a scholastic standpoint, but we often don't, let's say, apply the talent of writing to many ways that help us develop as people. And as you mentioned and explained the power of writing, it made me realize that I've kept a journal since I was 16 years old. So some of the archives from that, they unpack or unlock a lot of the thought processes that I've had throughout life. And with social media, blogging, as you mentioned, and also video and podcasting, you get to see yourself in, let's say, younger forms, less evolved forms, and allowing conversations to guide you along the path of enlightenment. So to your point, there's many ways to express, but also to your point, the key is to use this time to get started. And as they say, a year from now, you wish you started today. So
Absolutely.
today is the time, ladies and gentlemen. Now, when we go into influence, if I ask 10 people, hey, person 1 through 10, what do you define influence as? Of course, we're going to get 10 different answers. Can you paint the picture for our audience who wants to be more influential, wants to be a rock star in some way, what the possibilities are when they understand and harness the power of influence?
I get really excited on this topic because I think it's super practical. And once you feel, and I want to stress that word feel, once you feel the experience of what I'm about to say, you'll wonder why you never invested in this in the past. So maybe you already have it, who knows? It's a matter of just engaging in. And that is presence. Once you really become a present person, I mean, like in conversation, when you're painting, on the phone with a prospect, it's such a different interaction. It's almost as if the conversation or whatever you're doing elevates immediately, because that level of mindfulness is so rare these days. So there's so many practical ways to develop this. One is to just be very present in conversation when you're talking to somebody. You could download one of the free breathwork apps on your phone and do that every morning, afternoon, night, whatever you prefer. You could start drawing and be completely focused on every stroke of the paintbrush or the pencil or whatever you use as the gear, you know? When you interact with somebody that has a high degree of presence, like yourself, Shadid, actually, you can feel it. And it's a very powerful force. I don't know how else to describe it. I'm trying to dissect that in my book. And I've been saying quite a few things on my Twitter feed the past year on it. It's a remarkable experience, and it will change everything you do, because you are now completely focused deliberately on what's before you, not your past, not your future. You are completely present, and it improves the quality of everything you do. So if you do this every single day, you're going to experience very unique results in 3, 6 months, and then a year. And you don't want to stop, because like it's so practical. You'll always feel and know when you're being present and when you're not. And people will feel that as well. You can see it on their body language, the way they respond to you. I think it's a very powerful tool in the influencer's toolkit, quote unquote. So while we're in this situation, take the time to reflect, to meditate, to pick up a hobby, and focus on those activities completely, because that will then pour out into every other interaction in your life.
Presence. That is such a powerful concept. Such a powerful concept, in that when you're in the room with someone who has a magnetic presence, it's almost like you can see their aura, and it can engulf you. And that's what I say, rock star, that's one of the intangibles that make up a rock star in any industry. And so the thought is, how do you get there? And I would say mindfulness is very important. One thing that has helped me a great deal has been yoga. Now, you mentioned, let's say, breathing apps, and certain forms of yoga help you to get in touch with your breath, or to find your breath, as they say, in yoga circles. And so when you're able to stop and just take a deep breath, and this, since we both do interviews, and we talk to so many valuable and important people, sometimes if you just take a deep breath in a conversation, it puts you on the same wavelength. I've noticed that also from being on stages. When we were at the Google event, for example, I felt the event was moving a little bit too fast. And so I said, wait a minute, let me just, quote unquote, stop time by catching my breath. And then once I felt things were in tune, then it began to go smoothly. So for those who are tuning into this broadcast, first of all, we are here with Alejandro of Documental Radio, and the author of a new book that will be released that is known as Onyx, a gem of influence. And we're talking about the art and science of influence for your personal and professional life. And so now we're going into presence. So one thing I'd like you to do, ladies and gentlemen, as a tip, is whenever you walk into a new room, whether it is at this point, each room that you walk in, I want you to practice this. Take a deep breath and hold it for 5 seconds and just scan the room, and allow for yourself to absorb all the details of the room. Look at the ceiling, look at the paint, look at all the crevices and details, and make the room painstaking detail. Now, speaking of detail, one thing I've noticed is that the book and your mantra of learning a new skill each year, if people get involved with your movement and what you offer to the world, in Onyx being a gym, will we also see in book form additional, let's say, either stones? So will it be ruby going into a different skill set? But what is your master plan for this? I observed the new skill. I see Onyx. I see a gem. There's a play on words there that I'm looking in between the lines. And where is this going? Where are you taking us here?
Yeah, so I'll go onto that topic. I just want to piggyback on one thing you said, talking about presence, that I think is important to highlight here. I mean, I think we have high expectations going into interactions that kind of get us overwhelmed. We think we have to be super charming and witty and have the perfect thing to say, but in reality, I mean, it's just not reality. Like we don't have to actually act that way, and it's much more relatable if you're just upfront with people saying, "Listen, I'm a little nervous," or or you just accept in your mind that you will not do or say always the right thing. So people understand that. I think they put a lot of pressure on themselves to perform optimally. It's unrealistic, first of all. And second of all, it's not doing you any good. So if you're going to these interactions, just know that people are dealing with their own struggles. They're likely nervous as well. You will make a mistake, just like I am on this podcast. I may not say the right thing, or I might speak too fast. It will show I'm a little bit nervous. It's okay. And actually that sense of acceptance will help you perform better. And that's ultimately why we're talking about presence, to develop that calm confidence that people love and just radiates off you naturally. So I just want to touch upon that last point. For Documental, the idea is to immerse myself into new skills every year. Now, I have experience with sales and marketing, so it's pretty easy for me to start on that topic to begin with. I have a lot to say, a lot to share, and a lot of nuance to really dig deep on. So if I start a new skill every year, that means I have to document the process. Well, that's at least what I want to do, and show that people can do the same, that skills really are the answer in our modern world. The idea that you can get quick gains in 4 easy weeks is a superficial mindset that doesn't ultimately fulfill you and leaves you feeling shallow because you don't have anything intangible, something that's part of who you are that makes you a better person and brings true value to people's lives. I'm not saying those other things can't do it, it's just very rare. And the much more reliable and authentic way is to build skill sets that are high demand and solve real problems. So I plan to document these processes on my social media and then put it in book form so it's more digestible and concise. So every year, yeah, there will be something new, and I don't know what the next one is. I'm leaning towards something in creativity, design, illustration, because I do see many parallels between influence and designing user experiences that meet the needs of these individuals. So yeah, I think it teaches a very important point that I think is missed in modern day discussions, that is everywhere in history, in that mastery, any type of masterpiece period, was a result of deliberate focus, an immersion study, whether these individuals in the past went into exile or they started an apprenticeship. They had to focus completely on a topic and develop a skill so that it became who they are, not just what they do.
Excellent point. Tell us more about the book itself. Let us know what to expect within the pages. How will this book change how the reader experiences themselves on the journey?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up because I think it's a good parallel to influence in general. So like when you're talking to people, the way to make influence fun is to have, let's say, like we've already been over this, but to have a normal conversation with a person, but really understand what is missing, right? Is there a genuine gap in their present circumstance and their future potential? So once you identify that gap, you can actually formulate solutions. You can brainstorm with the person, the prospect, and give them something that they actually need, not manipulating them into thinking they need something that they don't actually need, right? This is an actual need that you have identified, you have formulated a solution for them, and now you are growing together. They pay you and you supply the solution. So it's fun because you're taking the role of a trusted advisor. You're not a salesperson. They trust your judgment. They say, Shadid, what do you think about this? Is this a good move? Are we even compatible? I mean, there's many times where I talk to people where I just say outright, listen, Tom, you're actually in a pretty good spot. You may not need my help. And it shocks them. They're like, whoa, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, you're doing great. And I just move on. I mean, it's complete detachment from the sale because I don't identify a genuine gap. If there is, then I'll do everything in my power to make sure they find that solution. They have my undivided attention. But otherwise, it's just not a genuine solution. So the reason I bring that up is because I think it's a very important topic to include in discussion of influence that really ties into the entire discussion we have here. And I think it would benefit a lot of people to understand that.
Very important. Where can we find more information on your work, as this discussion has been extremely valuable, and my audience always is seeking, they have the growth mindset and will want to learn more about your work and what you have going on past, present, and future?
Of course, yeah. You guys can add me on Twitter at documental_, and I have the same one on Instagram at documental_. There's 2 underscores. What you'll notice on Instagram is that the content's a little different. I have a lot of previews for podcasts, but a lot of other things that are more relevant actually to the next topic, which would be creativity or design. So I'm documenting my journey in drums. I might start doing illustrations soon. I have my podcast up there and other insights that are more philosophical and let's say it's more geared towards creativity. And the entrepreneurial business mindset stuff is going to be on Twitter. So depending on your preference, your goals, and whatever you want to talk about, you can add me on there and we'll continue the discussion.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have taken a journey into the mind of Alejandro, and we've gone down a path of understanding that sales is not just an entrepreneurial venture, but it is a high income skill that can be used in all walks of life. Then we moved down the path of understanding the value of presence with a few tips and strategies on how to captivate the moment, with the understanding that you can't be perfect in every moment, and that is okay. Mm-hmm. Alejandro's thoughts, experiences have been captured within the book, which is to be available under the title Onyx, a gem of influence. And I encourage you to level up your understanding of influence and persuasion, and how to utilize the tools that are within you to gain more from the world and give more value through your knowledge, your skills, your abilities, and gifts. On behalf of Alejandro, his new book, and Documental Radio, I thank you for tuning in to Conversational Currency, the fastest growing platform which focuses on the value and importance of social skills for business in a digital era, told through the lens of today's business and thought leaders. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with us. And for that, we appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in.